Joining us now, the hoaxer Hogan Gidley. He's live from the White House. He is the Deputy Press Secretary for the President of the United States. Hogan, great to have you with us, man.
It's so great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Man, we're so fired up today. We got so much to talk about. I'm going to start with Venezuela. I'm going to play a clip for you, okay?
Okay.
This is the second time we played this clip because I just don't know where these people are coming from. This is Ilhan Omar basically blaming America for the debacle in Venezuela. I just listen to the clip and then tell me what the deal is with this lady.
Thank you, Amy, for having me. It's really great to join you all this morning. I concur with what Professor Sachs was saying. A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela. And we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene and make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States. And I think finally we have folks in Congress that see what Professor Sachs was referencing.
Okay, so it's Hogan Gidley's fault and the president's fault that 20 years of socialist policies have completely destroyed the country of Venezuela, and now they're handing out food boxes. People are starving, record refugees, no electricity. Just help me understand her statement.
Right. It's my fault because they're eating dogs in the street, and the average Venezuelan has lost 20 pounds under the Maduro regime. Sure, that makes a whole lot of sense. Listen, I'm not going to take lectures in responsible government by any stretch from Ilhan Omar. It reminds me of the old joke. What did socialists use for electricity before candles, or use for heat before candles? And the answer is electricity. That country is one of the most, rich countries with oil on the planet, and it has been run into the ground. The people there are starving. They are suffering. There's illness. There's death. And this country stands with Juan Guaido along with 60 plus other countries across the globe in taking over a country. We recognize him as the leader of the country, and so as Ambassador Bolton and Secretary of State Pompeo put it, the ones who are this is not a coup. The rightful person in the position of power there is, in fact, Juan Guaido. So we stand with him, and we hope that there is a peaceful transition, as the secretary put it, that Maduro was actually on a plane prepared to leave, and that Russia talked him out of it. So this is always in our best interest to have leaders in countries that push and prefer democracy over countries that are dictatorships with leaders who starve their own people, harm them in various ways.
Hogan, let me ask you another question. Aren't 50 other countries backing Juan Guaido? 50?
I think it's 60 plus at this
60
point.
Plus,
we have a broad coalition recognizing Juan Guaido as the rightful leader. So we're hoping this thing moves quickly to change. We already recognize Juan Guaido as the head in Venezuela, but we're hoping this thing moves quickly.
Hogan Gidley, break down the testimony yesterday to the U.S. Senate of Attorney General William Barr.
It's really unbelievable what we've witnessed with the questions and the statements made by so many senators. And I understand so many of them are using it as a way to try and lay the groundwork or have that moment for a 2020 campaign against this president. That was in no way trying to get information. It was an effort to try and get this president. And the problem is they've got nothing. They've been pushing this for more than 2 years, and it seems as though what they're upset about is the fact that when Attorney General Barr released his memo outlining the ruling from Special Counsel Mueller, which was no collusion, no obstruction, they didn't like the fact that it was 2 weeks before they got the entire document. So let me get this straight. You drove the media narrative for 2.5 years, and now you're upset that you didn't have it for 2 weeks? I mean, they pushed a lie on the American people without evidence, without proof, and now they're upset because they wanted it to be true so badly, they've got nothing else to talk about.
And then the objective of the special counsel was to dig into the facts and do a report, which he did. And they maintained, Hogan, over and over, that this was not political. Yet, Mueller writes a whiny letter to the Attorney General because he didn't like, he said, the tone of his narrative. He never disputed that anything in the 4-page memo was all factual. He said he didn't like the tone. But they're not supposed to be political, but he didn't like the political implications of his tone, and that was the nature of his whiny letter.
Right, and so many Democrats are saying, well, we didn't like the Attorney General using the president's phrase of no collusion. That was the media and the Democrats' phrase that there was collusion. That was their word. They co-opted it for 2 years, again, with no evidence and no proof, and now all they want to do is impeach the president. Now they want to impeach Attorney General Barr. I mean, it's Impeachapalooza for the Democrats. All they want to do is anyone that they disagree with or anyone that shows them evidence that proves the last 2 years of their life was a complete and total waste, they want to impeach because they must silence those who put forth evidence proving that they have made fools out of themselves.
We've just coined a new word, hashtag Impeachapalooza. I love that. It is the Democrats' Impeachapalooza. Did you just make that up right now? That's really good.
In all honesty, I was sitting here listening to you have a conversation about setting up that last question. I thought to myself, it's like an Impeachapalooza. That's the origin of that word right then. In real time.
You are the author of Impeachapalooza. I'm going to hashtag that now when I send this out. We're with Hogan Gidley. He is the Deputy Press Secretary to the President of the United States. Hogan live in the White House. Okay, so now Ian Barr today says, look, I'm not going to testify before Congress because I'll sit there and answer questions by elected officials. I feel that's appropriate, but I'm not going to sit there and get questions peppered to me from staff and attorneys and peoples with agendas. So I'm simply not coming. How do you guys stand on that?
Well, I mean, listen, this is just it's a clown show. This isn't an effort to get legitimate information. It's an effort to, grandstand. This is not oversight. This is overreach. And the fact is, Sarah Sanders just brought up a great point in a meeting and then on television, the fact that we've long lost our faith in Jerry Nadler. We had no idea that Jerry Nadler had, in fact, lost faith in himself because he wouldn't ask the questions. He wanted staffers to do it. I mean, he's an attorney. If he doesn't have the ability or wherewithal to ask, reasonable, rational, informative questions to the Attorney General, then what's he doing there? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't he just step down, or shouldn't he get out of Congress and let someone who has that ability and that authority ask those questions? I mean, he's the chairman, for heaven's sakes. Mm-hmm. So this whole thing is set up to do really one substantive thing, and that is play politics. That's the only thing they want to do with it. They don't care about getting answers. They care about looking good to their base and trying to attack and smear with no evidence and pitch a hissy fit over the fact that there is no evidence and no proof to undergird the narrative, the false, fake, and phony narrative they pushed for 2 years. Even still, they claim they have evidence. It's out. It's for everyone to read, everyone to see. You can look at it. There is no nefarious behavior on the part of the Attorney General. There is no nefarious behavior on the part of Special Counsel Mueller. It's out. You can read it for yourself, and you can read it today, you can read it tomorrow, you can read it backwards, you can translate it into other languages, and the result is still the same, that there is no collusion, there's no obstruction, and they just don't like it.
So they have to change the narrative and find a new boogeyman, and now it's William Barr, because, as you said, they lost control of the fake news legacy false narrative for 2 weeks after 2 years in their quest for Impeachapalooza.
And again, I've said before, wouldn't you think if a sitting president of the United States, Republican or Democrat, was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt not to have colluded with a foreign power to affect the outcome of an election, they should be celebrating that in the streets. Instead, the evidence is clear, and they don't want to believe it. They want to continue to push the fact that he was involved. Listen, here's the thing we now know, two things ironclad. One is the fact that Russia did not affect the outcome, and two is the fact that Russia did attempt to meddle in this election and did so under the watchful eye of Barack Obama as this started in 2014. No one's asking to get to the bottom of why the Barack Obama administration knew about it and turned their head, even though Hillary Clinton offered the Russian reset. Barack Obama sat in the Oval Office and gave the old, hey, we can work better after the election. I'll have more flexibility when he talked about that to Dmitry Medvedev, and then also gave pallets of cash to Iran, did the Iran deal. All of those things propping up Russia when this president came in and closed down diplomatic facilities, shipped off diplomats, sanctioned oligarchs, actually had targeted missile strikes into Syria, said to Russia directly, get out of Venezuela. No president has been tougher on Russia. And instead of the Democrats saying, look, we now know that there was interference attempts by the Russians, we need to get to the origins of that, which started in 2014 under Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. They're saying, we now know that there was Russian interference. Why isn't Trump doing anything? We're the only ones doing something. This happened under another administration, and they refuse to acknowledge that, and they refuse to address it. And quite frankly, it's going to be to their detriment.
Are we going to see the Department of Justice launch an investigation, Hogan Gidley, on the origins of their effort for spying and collusion and everything else?
Look, that's up to the Attorney General. It's up to the DOJ. I can say that we've said many times there are a lot of questions out there because after this 2-year time period, you're looking around and the logical question, after you say, yes, I'm happy and excited that there was no collusion, no obstruction, but then there's a little bit of righteous anger in there, too, that says, how did this get started?
Right.
How did this all happen?
Right.
And it looks like there are several people looking into it now with media and some journalists who are actually independent-minded and don't have party affiliation and agendas to push, who are actually looking into what happened here and how this whole thing got started under another administration. So hopefully the American people who deserve to know the truth will actually get it.
John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks app. We're with Hogan Gidley, Deputy Press Secretary to the President of the United States, live at the White House. Hogan, I've only got a couple more minutes. I want to talk about the infrastructure meeting at the White House the other day with Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. We understand from the media pool that was there that the meeting went pretty well and that there might be an opportunity to move forward and see if we can do a $2 trillion infrastructure improvement plan, one of the promises the president made during his campaign. Real or not?
It is real. I'm not the effort. I mean, I don't want to get into specifics or numbers because the president hasn't released any of that. He did think the meeting was in good faith, good spirit, because he wants to do things like infrastructure, like immigration, like health care moving into the next 2 years to really put a cherry on top of his already, banana split worth of accomplishments in the first 2 years of his administration. But the fact is, we have crumbling roads and bridges, and we need to update those railroads and tunnels, and also the air traffic controllers and all the things that have languished over the past decades because people have focused on other countries, not focused on the United States. It's part of the America First agenda the president put forward, and it seems at the outset that Democrats want to engage in that. And I think I've said on your show before, but if I haven't, the fact remains a lot of these Democrats in the House ran on an agenda and won in Trump districts by narrow margins, promising to work with this administration administration and this president on those very issues. They want their roads fixed. They want their bridges safer. So the fact that the olive branch has at least been extended in one meeting is a good sign of things to come. Hopefully, we'll see how it all goes. As the saying goes, the devil's in the details. But right now, it seems as though Democrats are willing to have the conversation with the president of how we actually move forward on getting some much needed infrastructure upgrades.
Well, let's see how it goes forward. And of course, many of us expect that once a number is put to it, that Pelosi and Schumer will say, okay, the way we pay for it is to roll back the Trump tax cut. That's what everybody thinks is going to happen on our side, which obviously is a non-starter. Hopefully we're going to get something done. Hogan, I'm out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. Hogan Gidley, Deputy Press Secretary in the White House, live. Hogan, great update. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for the time.
And remember, Hogan, his new word, Democrat Impeachapalooza. I love that, Hogan. That's a good one.